Hey everyone, Player Sam. Welcome to my full video build of Alpha Model's 124th Aston Martin Vantage. So yes, welcome. This is my fully condensed, shortened build of this video. We're going to get it all built in one go today. If you'd like to see 3 separate 30-minute videos on this build, 30-minute videos on this build, you become a patron of mine, a link down below. There's links down there. Become a patron. There's loads of other perks. I'll explain them at the end of the video. We get early access and the full 3-part in-depth video build of this series. So wonderful kit this. We're going to work through today and get it done. So let's crack on and let's get started with the build. So we've got Alpha Model's Aston Martin Vantage, really clean body on this, very minimal cleanup required, just a few wisps of excess resin to remove around the windows, and I'm going to go around with my Holly scriber and lightly rescribe some of the panel lines. They don't really need it, they are quite well pronounced, but it's a habit I've got into and I think it's worth doing personally. Obviously if you don't opt to, the panel lines are very good on the kit. The body is very, very clean, like I say, very minimal cleanup. The most important step on this for me is scuffing the body for primer and degreasing it as well. Obviously, preparation is key, always is. So we've got a 3000 grade Tamiya sanding sponge and we're going to scuff up all the body. This will put thousands of micro abrasions on the surface and allow our primer to grip a lot better. We've got a toothbrush to get all the panel lines, get any sanding dust out and any nasties that might be in the recesses and what have you. And then we've got some Pro Scale paints, pre-paint degreaser. So we're going to put a little bit of this on our clean bit of tissue, wipe it over the body. We're also going to dip our toothbrush in it and get in all those nooks and crannies and get it degreased. Now resin does tend to have nasties on the body from the mold release. Also any fingerprints from yourself, if you've been eating sandwiches or crisps, which we are guilty of when we model. You're going to get it all over the model and that may hinder adhesion of paint. So a thorough degrease is highly recommended. Once you're done, dry it off with a clean bit of tissue and in the booth we've got our Tamiya anti-static brush. Go around, get any dust off it. We've got our Pro Scale Paints grey primer. This is a microfiller primer. This will be applied in light coats to build it up. We've got my Iwata CR3.3 airbrush. And like I say, we're going to put several thin coats on. Now, somebody did comment on my last build that this mustn't be a very good primer because you only put it on in 3 or 4 coats. The idea of primer isn't to hose it on in one go. There's a few YouTubers out there that show this, and it's not the right way of doing it. Shouldn't be hosed on in one go. This isn't garden furniture or, you know, downspout on your guttering. It's a scale model you're making, so you want the best finish you possibly can. So build up the primer coat slowly is the way to go. Our primer doesn't need putting down in wet coats either, and it is a microfiller primer. So nice light thin coat is the way to go. So this is after about 4 coats now, just 3, 4 light coats all over. We've got full coverage, we've got all those window recesses, wheel arches, grille ducts everywhere. And while we're there as well, we've done the wing mirrors as well. The body is going to be painted in the body colour. The wing mirrors are actually going to be painted, I think it'll actually be carboned later on. Once the primer's dry for a good few hours, we've got our 3000 grit Tamiya sponge again. And we're going to go around and flat all the primer. That way we get rid of any high spots, any dust that may have landed in it, and we end up with a silky, smooth surface. For paint on this, we're going with Pro Scale Aston Martin Cumberland Grey. Absolutely beautiful colour, picked by my friend Simon Shorey. This is on Pro Scale Paint. You go over there and have a look. Through the Iwata CR3 Revolution again, 0.3mm at about 18 psi. We're going to put about 7 coats on. Again, nice light thin coat. You don't want to hose the paint on. It's not the way to paint. Nice light coat, building up slowly are the key. And we're going to alternate from left to right and up and down passes on each separate coat. And leave about 5 minutes between each coat for the paint to flash off. Like I say, go to our website, proscalepaints.uk, and you can order paints from us. We take any requests as well. Drop us a message and we'll try and match the colour for you and get it made up. We've got over 200 paints on our site now. So plenty of choice, and I think the results speak for themselves with our paints. So we're about 7 coats in now, 6, 7 coats. This is the final coat going on, and you can see the depth of colour we got. It's absolutely stunning. Like I say, there is no benefit in hosing the paint on. Nice light thin coat building it up will give you a much, much better finish. As I always say, this is the condensed video of this build. If you want to see 3 separate 30-minute videos, much more in depth on this build, you can become a patron in the description of the video down below, and you get early access on the videos. You get the full 3-part videos, including this one as well, on early access. You get a weekly live stream a weekly bench update every Friday morning, as well as loads of other perks, including access to a Facebook supporter chat as well. So have a look in the description down below, and you become one of my supporters. We've got some carbon film for the side of the body here as well. There's a lot of carbon on the car, but this is the piece we're going to focus on today. My main goal at the beginning of these builds is to get this body shell into 2K so it can sit and cure whilst we're working on everything else. So we've got a piece of cut carbon fibre trim on the side. We've burnished it down. We've got a fresh blade on our scalpel, and following the panel line, we've just sliced through it to get it to fit absolutely perfect. Gently remove the excess, then we'll grab our water pen brush again and burnish it down, and with a little bit of heat we can get this set in place with some Ultimate Modern Products decal solutions. I tend to use the strong on this to get it set in place. I find it works the best on these decals. This is the Tamiya carbon fibre decal film. Once all that's dry, we can come in with our Tamiya panel line wash. This is an enamel based wash, and we're putting this over a lacquer paint, so it's perfectly safe to do. So we're going with black on this one because it's a nice dark colour, and if you just touch it to the panel line, the capillary reaction will carry it through. We let that to dry for about 20-30 minutes, and then come back in with some odourless mineral spirits and wipe off the excess, leaving our nicely highlighted panel lines behind. Colour's absolutely stunning, it really is, and it's going to look even better under 2K. So what I do is I put a bit of Sansador from Winsor & Newton on a cotton bud, wipe off the wash, and then wipe off the excess with a tissue, and just work my way around until everywhere is clear of any excess wash. And as I always say, put the model down for 5 minutes, pick it back up, and I'll almost guarantee you'll see somewhere you've missed. That's allowed to dry overnight. And the next day we've got our ProScale Paints 2K clear coat system. We've got a fresh filter in the booth, fresh paper on the bench. We've got my plastic storage box to the left. And we're going to mix a 2-to-1 mix of the clear and activator. So say 6ml of the clear to 3ml of the activator. 2-to-1 mix, a 2-part clear, 1-part activator. We use a fresh pipette for the activator. Once we've used it and mixed it, we throw a pipette away and never use it again. We do not want to contaminate the other bottles. Once these parts mix, that's when the chemical reaction occurs. So this is the activator going in. So it did spill a little bit there, so I'll add a little dribble more. You don't have to be 100% perfect on your measurements. Just try and be as accurate as you possibly can. Like I say, get your 6ml of clear in, 3ml of activator. It's normally enough to do a 24 scale car. Get that in there, get all the pipette empty. Give it a good mix up. Please make sure you've got gloves on and a respirator. You're in a room by yourself with a good extractor like I have. And I'm double gloved on that left hand with nitrile gloves, and I've got a bit of cling film on my arm to protect my arm from any overspray. Finally, we need to add 0.5% of that total mix of clear and activator in thinner. So if we've got 6ml of clear and 3ml of activator, that's 9ml in total. 0.5% of that is 4.5 millilitres. So I've just put in 0.5ml of thinner. Mix that up, and away you go. It sounds complicated. It really isn't. It's really easy. And trust me, once you use this, you'll never go back to any other clear coat again. Again, throw the pipette away. We're never going to use that again. We've got a fresh medicine cup and a 190 micron strainer, which we also sell on ProScale now. And we're going to strain it. Not that there's any problems, but you may get bits of crusty activator on the rim of your bottle. You don't want that going in your clear coat. So I would always recommend straining the clear coat. With the body ready to go, we give it a go over the Tamiya anti-static brush. And we're going to put our semi-wet coat on first. So no tack coat of our clear coat, straight in with a semi-wet coat. I have sped this footage up. We're through my 0.5mm Iwata CR Revolution airbrush at about 24 psi. And on these coats, we're keeping a wet edge as we go and getting in all those wheel arches and all the nooks and crannies and just ensuring we get full coverage. So we're not going for a full wet coat. We're just going for a half decent semi wet coat on this first coat. So you can see how wet it's going down. Make sure you're getting all the nooks and crannies, all on the sills, all on the back edge of the bumper. And just make sure it's a nice even coat all over. That will be popped in a plastic case for 5 minutes while it flashes off. That will stop any dust landing on it or any damage or what have you. And then 5 minutes later, we can come back, it's flashed off, and we can apply our wetter coat. So a bit more paint called for on the airbrush. We'll come back a little bit to get a bit of a wider pattern, and we're putting down a fully wet coat on the 2K. So following the wet edge as we go. And again, don't worry if you don't get a perfect coat on this one. Just be systematic and go around the entire model. Because what we're going to do, we're going to pop it back in our box for 60 seconds, let the 2K self-level, take it out, and if we need to, we can put a little bit more on. So while this is classed as a 2-coat system, don't get too hung up on just doing 2 coats. Get your semi-wet coat down, get your wet coat down, let them flash off between coats. Once this second coat's done, pop it in your box for 60 seconds, just let it self-level, take it out and have a look. And if you're looking at it and it's not perfect, give it another coat. So that's what I've done here. I've gone a little bit light on that second coat. So I'm just giving it another light coat again, very similar to the last one I did. What we want off this is glass smooth 2K. How this looks when we're done is how it's going to dry. So if you've got orange peel when you finish this now, that's how it's going to dry. And you don't want orange peel. It means you're going to have to sand it back a lot more and polish it up. So do as good a job as you can now. You can push 2K, especially ours, a lot more than you think. Pop it back in the box for 60 seconds again to the self-level. And using the light in the booth, angling the body to look for any orange peel or anywhere that's not quite done enough clear on it. And if you do see a little bit, just give a little spray over it. Don't be worried about putting a little bit too much down. Our 2K is really forgiving. It is really, really forgiving. And it dries thinner than all the other 2Ks I've seen before. So that goes back in the booth. I've had a quick clean up of the airbrush, tidied a few things up. And just before I commit to put everything away, I'll take it out. It will have self-leveled a bit more. And I'm just looking around the body for any imperfections. You may get dust in there. That's just the nature of clear coating. That can be flattened back and polished up later. But if you look at that clear coat, it is beautifully smooth. Absolutely perfect. So that's left to dry now, probably cure for about 5 days. Meanwhile, we're going to work on the running gear in the interior. So we've got the resin cockpit tub. We're going to prime this in ProScale grey primer. So all the other parts will be primed in this manner as well. I'm not going to show every single part being done, but I'm through my iWater HPC Plus at about 18 PSI. I'm just going to put a couple of light coats of primer on everything where required. So some of the interior is going to be red, some of it's going to be black. We're going to put some flocking in there as well. So if we're doing red, we're going to prime in grey. Anything that's going to be painted metallic or that will go black will be primed in black. So there's quite a lot of parts to prime on this. You can see them all on my stand. They've all been cleaned up. They've all been mounted for primer and degreased. And like I say, if you want to see more in depth, if you become a patron, you get access to the full videos. With the brake calipers, they're going to be done in ProScale Brembo Red. So we're going to prime these in ProScale Pink Primer. A couple of coats of our Pink Primer go down absolutely perfect. Pink Primer. Go down great, no problem at all. And like I say, on the chassis and all the other parts, anything's going to be black or metallic will be primed in ProScale. In fact, I think this is actually Mr. Surfacer 1500 on the chassis. Will be primed in black. So a couple of light coats, getting all the angles and recesses and the edge as well. There you go, after a couple of coats, that is done. I'll be honest, a lot of the time you can leave the 1500 Surfacer as the black colour. It looks really good. But on this one, we've got a paint to try out later on. So there we go, pop that to one side to dry. On the wheels, we're just going to prime in Mr. Surfacer 1500 black again because these are going to be silver. So a couple of light coats, spin it around and make sure you get underneath as well. You need to get inside the wheel as well because you can see it on larger spoked wheels like this where you can see through, you can see the back. Second coat on the calipers with Brembo Red, looks absolutely fantastic. And then on some of the other interior parts, we've got Napa Black leather from ProScale. So we're going with Napa Black on this. And originally I was going to do a red oxide colour, but I changed my mind at the end and went with Bordeaux red. The red oxide just didn't do it for me, and I decided to go for the Bordeaux red. So we're primed all the brake discs up. These have got PE to go on them, so we're going to paint the centre resin parts in bright aluminium from ProScale. We've got some PE to go on there. We're going to do in carbon in a bit, and the same on the headlights as well. They've been primed in black and painted in ProScale bright aluminium. And the wheels as well, exactly the same colour, just several light coats to build it up. Absolutely beautifully, finely pigmented metallic colour. Looks absolutely stunning. Really nice. I do plan to add to our metallic range over time. Currently we have the silver and the gunmetal under the ProScale banner at the minute, but I will add to them over time. And the chassis, testing out a semi-gloss black here. So yeah, trial and error, just to see how it goes. And like I say, we originally painted the interior in red oxide leather, and it looked okay. I just don't think it went with the metallic grey very well. So I opted to just put a couple of coats of Bordeaux red from ProScale over the top, and I think the deeper, richer, darker red looked a lot better in my opinion. So a couple of coats of this, it covers over the red really well, because obviously you've already got red paint down. And yeah, give me a very nice striking red interior with some black accents in there too. So if you're trying these off from all the kits, they're worth a go. They're not the cheapest kits in the world, but they're very high quality and really nice subjects as well that nobody else tends to make. So I think they're worth the money. They are good. And I've enjoyed every one I've built. This one is an especially nice kit. Goes together with no real issues. And it's got a really nice interior, which is just going to be the swamp of beautiful Bordeaux red. I absolutely love Bordeaux red interiors. It's fantastic. On the rear diffuser, on the chassis, it is carboned. Now luckily the kit comes with some hideous luminous green carbon decals pre-cut for this, so I use them as a template to get all the parts in place. But on the front and rear bumper inserts, no such luck. I had to cut all these by hand and piece them all. You can see how many pieces of carbon film I've used on the bench, quite a lot. Again, this is the Tamiya carbon film. We're just cutting it to size. If it needs patching, we're lining the weave up so that it all lines up. And if you do it well and set it in place with good decal solutions, I'm using the Ultimate Modeling Products decal solutions, which you can't beat in my opinion. You can't see the join. On the wheels, we've got the BMW logos to put in the centre, and on the dashboard, we've got the instruments. Steering wheel's got a nice chrome bit of trim that just sticks on the outer edge. It's like a sticky metallic decal, and the iconic Aston Martin badge in the centre of the wheel as well. We need to assemble some of the parts. We've got my interior flock. My lovely assistant Hannah, my partner Hannah, has flocked it for me. ProScale flock, absolutely fantastic. We now have 10 colours in our flocking range and 14 leather colours in our leather paint range. So check us out, proscalepaints.uk. So we're gluing our seats together. They did have locating points. I accidentally cut one off. So this one I've got to kind of do by eye. And on the rest of this interior, we're going to add a black panel line wash where we can. So basically, if it holds a wash, put a wash in there. And again, we're putting enamel-based wash over lacquer paint, so no problems at all. Let it dry, wipe off the excess with some odorless mineral spirits, and it will highlight the interior and just adds a little bit of depth and realism to it, especially on things like the seats. It really does make a big difference. So it's certainly a step worth doing. It takes about 20-30 minutes for this to dry. It's very fast drying. And yeah. So window wipers assembled in PE. Again, if you want to see these in depth, I've got them fully in depth on my Patreon. You can go over there and look at the 3-part video build series and the front grille as well. I show assembling this grille. PE is quite tricky to do, but not too bad in the long run. They went together okay. So I've got it all glued together. I'm just cleaning up any excess CA glue with some acetone or a cotton bud. With those all assembled, we're in the booth. We've got them mounted, and we've got some ProScale paints. PE primer. This is an etch primer, specially thinned just for PE. Absolutely brilliant. Makes the paint a lot more resilient, less prone to chipping, which is quite common with PE. And covers super quick and dries super fast. Literally, by the time you're primed and everything's cleaned up, you can paint. It dries super quick. All the other PE parts are cut off as well and mounted on this tongue depressor. So we'll prime those up in the primer as well as the window wipers. They're all primed up as well. And while we're there, we're going to clear coat the calipers with some Mr. Hobby Super UV Cut Clear. So a couple of coats of clear coat on these, get a nice gloss finish. No decals in the kit for the calipers, bit of a shame. And while we've got the gloss out, we might as well gloss coat the wheels as well. So several coats on this, probably about 4 coats on this to get the coverage because of the shape and angle of the wheel. And on the interior, we've got the same Mr. Hobby Clear, but in a semi-gloss this time. And what that does, it just takes the sheen of the paint off and makes it look a lot more like leather. So again, another step worth doing. I will show it side by side in a second, and hopefully you can see the difference. But it doesn't take a lot to get a semi-gloss finish on it at all. And I think it is a good step to do. Because if you look on the left, that is glossed. Well, that's just out the gun, and on the right is semi-gloss. So you can see it does take the shine off it a bit. On the discs, we've got some Pro Scale Paint ceramic carbon paint. So a few coats of that on there. We're then going to matte coat it with some Testors dual coat, again, to take the sheen off it, which looks absolutely fantastic. And then on our grill, which was primed earlier, we've got some Tamiya LP5 semi-gloss black. I'm just going to put a couple of coats on there. And on the disc, so these were painted in bright aluminium. We've got some Bob Smith Super Gold non-fogging glue. We've got our lovely carbon ceramic discs that we painted up. These things look absolutely fantastic. And just a few dabs of glue, they're glued in place like so. We can assemble our hubs with our calipers too. So refer to instructions on these. So obviously there's a handbrake caliper on the rear discs as well. Please refer to instructions and any real life references to make sure you get these the right way round. And there we go, pop everything in place, a little dab of glue, get it all in, and I would recommend using a wheel to test fit to make sure everything is lined up properly before you commit to letting that glue dry. You do get a bit of working time with the Bob Smith's glue, so that's good. And while we're there, we might as well assemble up all the front as well. So it looks good, we've got the centre PE in there as well. And these look really good, very, very nice wheels as well. Our interiors there, we've got our seats glued in place, we will have in a second. One's in, a little dab of glue on each side of the lubricating points. Really nice interior on this, like I say, very nicely detailed. Looks absolutely fantastic as well. The border red is an absolutely stunning colour. We've got the rear and front centre consoles in place with the black trim piece at the front as well. And again, using the Bob Smith, you get a little bit of time to work with it so you can position it properly. And then the body shell. So this has been drying for quite a while actually, because I started this in May and finished it about a week ago. So it's had about 5-6 weeks of drying because I've been on with other projects. So we've got some 3M Trizic pads. We've got the 3, 6 and 8000. And we're going to flank back the clear coat. Reasons for this are to remove any imperfections, any dust or hair that may have landed in the clear coat. And it'll also thin the clear coat out as well and make it look a lot more realistic. And like I say, R2K is one of the thinnest ones I've used, and I've used a lot over the years. And it becomes apparent when you're polishing because all the polish gets stuck in the panel line gaps, where a lot of the other ones don't. So it just shows you how much thinner ours is. So I've got the UMP polish system here now. After we've gone through all those sanding grits, we've got the compound, which is quite an aggressive polish. We're going to try and polish this back up to a high shine. Be wary of any high spots or any corners or edges where the paint's inherently thinner. Take your time, don't go too mad with the sanders or the polish. I'm using some old T-shirt to do this. And just give it a good polish up and then buff it off with a clean bit of tissue with a clean cloth. And then we can come in with the polish after we've cleaned all the panel lines out with an old toothbrush. If this doesn't work, load your airbrush up with some water and make sure it is just water and use it as a jet wash to power wash all the polish out the panel line gaps. But it just shows you how much thinner our clear coat is because it does not fill the panel lines at all. Once you've got that cleaned up, we can come back with a polish, which is a much less abrasive polish. And same process, go around and just polish it up to a nice high shine. Just be careful of those edges. It's very easy to burn through. I've been there and done it so many times. Sometimes you have to pick a point where you just think, that's as good as I'm going to get. Sometimes that little dust spot just won't quite go, or a slight imperfection. It's sometimes not worth ruining your clear coat just to try and get it 100% perfect. I know it sounds like a bit of a quitter's way of doing it, but it's so soul destroying to ruin your paint job because you literally need to start again, really. With it all cleaned off and buffed up, the body shell's looking absolutely beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Now we need to mask off and paint our window surround. So I used to do the black on the windows before 2K. Lately I found doing it after 2K gives a matte surface on the window surrounds. And this makes super gluing the windows in a lot easier because obviously the more porous the area, the easier it is to glue to. And I think it is making a difference. So carefully masked with 1, 2 and 3 mil Tamiya tape and then filled with other larger tapes from Tamiya and some cling film. We can spray some LP5 Tamiya and get it all sprayed up. And on the interior, I just use some Vallejo Model Color Black, thinned with a drop of water, a nice flat brush, and just brush all the interior. You can't really see this when you look through, so you could airbrush it if you wanted to mask it, but we need to do the wheel arches as well. And the great thing is, because we're putting a water-based paint over a lacquer, or a 2K rather, it just wipes off with a cotton bud if needed. Once happy all that's done, we can get our interior in. So generally on these kits, the dashboard goes in first. So some dabs of glue on the dashboard, like so. And then on the side, there's 2 little cutouts. Little dab of glue in there for the door cards to go in place. There we go. And then put a little glue underneath to secure it in place. Same with the other side. And then with the main cockpit part, it slots into the back. There's a little locating slot in the very, very back of it. So line it up and push it in. As you can see, that Bordeaux red looks fantastic against that Cumberland grey. And then we can glue that in place as well. And what we're going to do is, while we're here, we've got the screw holes, which are not wide enough. We're just going to widen them with our drill. Careful doing this, don't drill right through the body. You don't need to drill deep at all. The screws aren't that long. But just go up in progressive drill sizes till you're happy you've got the correct size for your screw. If you find a resistance screw in the screw in, stop and make it wider. Trust me, it'll crack the resin. We've got the freshly carboned and 2K front and rear bumpers. I did the 2K off camera, and we're putting our grill we made earlier in place as well. And then some CA glue in the locating points for these. Very positive fitting on this one. We can slot this in place and glue it in. Same with the rear piece as well. And then the under tray with our diffuser built in can now be screwed in place. Now, like I say, if you feel resistant screwing these screws in, stop and make it harder. You can see very little pressure on me there right till the end. Just needs a little bit to screw it in. Same with the back as well. You don't need a lot of pressure. You will crack the resin. Trust me, resin is flexible to a point and then it just gives. So make sure the holes are the correct diameter. And there we go. There's our chassis in place. Now we can get our wheel hubs. Now I need to refer to instructions here and any real life pictures of the car to make sure these are orientated the right way. Obviously the one with the handbrake goes on the back and the one without goes on the front. Just make sure everything's right. A few dabs of CA glue will hold it all in place. And with the final one in, there we go. And I always add a little bit of glue extra on the outside. Look at those, the discs and calipers look absolutely fantastic. Very happy with that. Great colour combos. Now at this stage of the build, be careful of any CA glue on your fingers. You don't want to stick into the body because it'll ruin your hard work. If you do ever get CA glue on 2K, debonder will take it off. You can see my bottle of debonder at the top of the screen there. It's green. It will take it off. You may need to polish your body again, but other than that, you'll be okay. A few dabs of glue in the hubs, we can get the wheels glued in place. And then my little touch on the license plate, it's painted black, and then I just sand off the raised areas and buff it up, and we end up with these nice plates. Okay, so we've installed our headlights and we've got the headlight glass here as well. We cut off the resin and cleaned it up. Used a Sharpie marker pen to add the rubber gasket around the edge and using some Bob Smith's glue, we're going to glue it in place. This is the non-fogging glue, so it doesn't haze up any clear parts. So just a couple of strategic points are glued where you're not going to see it. And then we offer up the headlight into one corner. Hold it with our thumb gently and push it in. And again, be careful of any super glue on your fingers here. Don't ruin all your hard work. Hold for a few seconds till it grabs. Repeat that for the other side. And then the trickiest bit of this kit for me with these rear lights. So there's a piece of PE that I've painted up in clear red on the fret. You can see it there. There's 3 of them for the back. They sit on these inserts here on the back. Now, they are tricky to do, but they're not actually that bad. They weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. So I just lined up the center and the edges so it was perfect. Like so. And then once that was in, we've got the edges in as well. I had to roll these. So again, I show this on my Patreon, how I did it. I used a sponge and something to roll it to curve it, to get them to conform right around the edge. And repeat that for the other side. And then we've got the clear parts to go over the top. So it's tricky to do, but actually wasn't that bad. There is a protective film, so make sure you get these the right way around. You want to leave the protective film on the outside edge. And again, we just added some Bob Smith's glue on one edge and in the center, and we just hold that edge for a second while we work it in place. Main goal is to get it all lined up correctly. Like I say, you do get a bit of working time with the Bob Smiths. Once that's done, we can get the outer edges in place as well. So it just takes a bit of perseverance. And then we get to take off the protective film. So gently get your blade behind and just pull off the film. My favourite part of this, very satisfying to do, and I actually missed me doing it on the windows. I don't know what happened. I think I had a bit of corrupt footage on this build because there's a few parts where it froze on the SD card. So yeah, I lost the one of the favourite bits I like to show in my videos. There we go. The protective film is good. If you get any glue, it doesn't go on the clear parts. And when you take this off, you should have beautiful crystal clear lenses. Headlights, windows. Again, we've got our Bob Smiths with a precision nozzle. All these products I show in these videos, you can find most of them in the description below. There's 2 links. There's one to a big list of products on the forum, and there's my Amazon shop as well, where a lot are listed, and everything else you can find over on ProScale Paints, which is also listed down below. The Ultimate Modeling products are listed on UMP Retail as well, so you can get those over there. And what we're going to do is add some strategic points on the inside part of the window. Just add them a couple of blobs and using the cocktail stick, just spread them out so they're a bit thinner. We don't want any thick areas of glue. We've got some Tamiya tape on the outside edge of the glass. Again, this protective film, so make sure you get this the right way around. I'm just going to offer it up, hold it in place, and then burnish it down using some cotton buds. And it's a case of just going round until you got it fully burnished down and it holds. Now, the front one's the trickiest one to do because it's the most convex. But this is where you need to be careful of CA glue and just make sure, just keep rubbing it and rubbing it. It does take a while for the Bob Smiths to grab, but it gives you a bit of time as well. Rear window in exactly the same way, and the side windows exactly the same. They just fit in place. A lot easier to fit these, and just keep burnishing them down until the glue grabs. Really easy to do, but like I say, I missed off my favourite part, taking off the clear film. Wing mirrors, a little dab of Bob Smiths on the edge. So these were carboned and 2K'd as well. We've got the metal insert in there too. There we go. And then the Aston Martin logo on the bonnet as well. Just set that in place. And there we go. That is it done. Wing mirrors, window wipers all glued in place, all the lights in place, all the badges on. And I think this looks absolutely stunning. Beautiful colour, beautiful contrast to the Bordeaux red, silver wheels, carbon discs, the Brembo red calipers. Really nice kit, this one. Built up absolutely beautiful. I'm very happy with the results. We've got some pictures as well of it. So this was primed in ProScale Paints Grey Primer. Several coats of ProScale Paints Aston Martin Cumberland Grey. We put some carbon accents on the bodywork as well, on the side skirts and the front and rear bumpers and the diffuser. bright aluminium for the wheels, carbon ceramic for the discs, Brembo red, all from ProScale paints on the calipers. 2K clear coat from ProScale on the bodywork, which looks absolutely stunning. That was all flatted back with the 3M pads and polished up with the Ultimate Modeling Polish system. Interior is painted a combination of ProScale Bordeaux red and Napa black, along with the ProScale black flocking. And we use Tamiya black accent wash throughout on the model. All the decals are set with the UMP decal solutions. And any other paints were mostly Tamiyas, like LP5. And that's about it. Absolutely beautiful, great looking car, and a really nice model kit from Alpha. There we go. What can we say? Wonderful kit, fantastic looking model as well. ProScale paints doing their thing again, time and time again, looking absolutely wonderful. The Cumberland grey with the beautiful 2K, that Bordeaux red interior, the carbon ceramic discs, the red calipers, the beautiful silver wheels, and all the carbon trim. Just looks great. A really nice model from Alpha, a real pleasure to build. The P, probably some of the trickiest parts on this. Don't have to use the front grille. There is a resin part in there. The rear lights are a bit tricky, but they're actually not that bad to do in the long run. And like I say, that Cumberland grey just looks absolutely fantastic. Go to proscale.uk, proscalepaints.uk, and look at our website. We've got 200 paints on there now. And we do requests or suggestions. Drop us a message if you're looking for anything, and we can get them made up and put on our site. And yeah, and like I say, if you want full access to these videos, there are 3 separate videos for this build. I think one's 30 minutes, one's 20, and the other one's 35 minutes. Goes much more in depth on the build, on how I did things, and I show things like all the PE being put together, things like that. If you become a Patreon member, link down below. Click on it. There's all different tiers of what you want to go. You can donate if you want. It's a monthly subscription. Tier 3, I think it is, the £6 a month will get you access to near enough everything. You get early access on the videos up to a month. You get the full in-depth video builds. There's an exclusive video build on there as well, and there will be more coming up as well. There's exclusive videos on there, reviews and tests of paints. You also get a weekly bench update, which nobody else gets to see either. Every week, every Friday, I do a bench update. And you get access to a Facebook Messenger chat where all the patrons are in. There's about 70 of us in there currently. Not everyone's in there. Most of them are in there, though. People chat and share their modelling and what have you, say hello to each other. And there's a Facebook supporter group as well where all the links get shared as well. And you can also suggest reviews and builds going forward too. And with your support, I can keep doing this. So, yeah, have a look at Patreon down below. There's also a Buy Me Coffee link and a PayPal me just for one-off donations too. And in the description of the video, there's also links to everything associated with myself. So there's ProScale Paint, UMP, the Facebook page for ISM, all the other groups related to ISM, the Off Air Hangout group. There's links to my scale mate, so you've got my stash. There's an email address, you can get in touch with me. And there's also links to my Amazon shop and all the links I use, all the products in my videos. So there we go. Make sure you sub to the channel. Click the bell notification, give the video a thumbs up, and a huge thanks to all my supporters, all my patrons. Their names are going up on screen now. Thank you all, guys, for your continued support. You're all absolute legends. Without your support, I couldn't do this. And there we go. Hope you enjoyed that build as much as I did. The next build you're going to see is my Fokker Wolf 190D9, which is now finished. So there'll be a full video build series on my Patreon of that. And a single condensed video will be released on here. That's going to be probably in about a month, easily a month. And I've got the Ford Mach 1 to do as well. That's underway currently. So there we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for your continued support. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please leave a comment as well. Love reading all your comments down below. And I'll catch you all next time. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.